I'm here with Greg Nolan. Greg, you're a Catholic psychotherapist, and I know you particularly have helped out with Rachel's Vineyard and particularly ministering to the women and men there. We're here remembering the Abortion Act today and the reality of 58 years of legalised abortion. Often what we're hearing from people, the sort of voices that we hear in the news and the media, is that abortion doesn't really affect women, certainly not from a psychological perspective, that there's no such thing as PTSD with regards to abortion or post-abortion trauma. How do you respond to that as a profession, as a psychotherapist?
The first thing that I'd say is that I've worked directly with PTSD as a result of abortion, the abortion being the trauma in question. I know that people sometimes get a bit confused as to the term post-abortion trauma, and I just encourage people not to use the term really, but PTSD, I've seen it directly, but I've seen very many things. I've seen depression, anxiety disorders, and it's so multifaceted, it can go in so many directions, but if people deny that abortion can be traumatic who work within the field of mental health, they're either being disingenuous or they don't know what trauma is, basically. It's so far from the truth that it beggars belief. I used to work in the NHS, and a colleague of mine at the time, she had previously worked in abortion clinics, giving post-abortion counselling in abortion clinics for their services as it were. And I was talking to her, she didn't know that I was pro-life, and I was just asking the general questions to get her position, and one of the things that she said was that she had to leave because it was the same thing over and over again, and this is the phraseology, said it was grief and guilt, grief and guilt, grief and guilt. And for me that basically says it all, so we grieve when we know we've lost a loved one, we feel guilty when we know we've done something wrong, and in her language it was just grief and guilt, and she essentially said it was boring me, so I got out of there, do you know what I mean? So to me that's the basis of the psychological consequence for women who've had abortions, and from there it can go into so many difficulties.
And what about men then, Greg? Does it? Because I know men also attend Rachel's Vineyards. Does it affect men in a similar way?
Oh, for sure. So predominantly, well, again, those two things jump out. So grief and guilt. It depends on the man's position. So I've worked with men who didn't know their girlfriend or wife was having an abortion.
Right,
That's one place you can be coming from. I've worked with men who fought against and tried to save the baby. I've worked with men who fought to get their wife or girlfriend to have an abortion. So it very much depends where they're coming from. But when they come to a place of recognition and realization of what's actually happened, the first thing is obviously grief, and a profound sense of grief and sorrow. But then guilt, it depends on where they're coming from, basically. But guilt can be a big part of it too. If they didn't do anything, if they stood back and said, it's your choice, I'm not going to do anything about it, I'll leave it to you. There's a sense of guilt there that needs to be worked through. But
So finally then, Greg, why is this denied so much then? From what you're saying, it's quite clear, it's quite obvious from a medical perspective, but many people seem to deny that trauma exists after an abortion, or that mental health can be affected by abortion.
In society?
Yeah.
Because the NHS and the healthcare system treats abortion as if it's a healthcare provision. So in order to do that, you simply have to deny the reality. You have to. There's no way in the world that the NHS could provide the service of abortion and at the same time countenance the idea that they're damaging the mental health of the people they're providing the service for. So they have no choice but to deny it because of the position that they're in, really. There's more to it than that, but that would be the centre of it, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the work that you do, particularly the work you do with Rachel's Vineyard. It's absolutely invaluable. I know many women and men who've been helped by that. So thank you very much, Greg. Thank you.